Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and today we're doing a backup camera to an existing aftermarket doubled-in radio. In this install, we're going to show you how to remove your radio that's currently installed, run all the wiring, get everything reinstalled, get the camera mounted in the hatch area, and reinstallation. So first things first, we got to pop this out so we can run our video wire for our camera from the radio area all the way to the back hatch. Beast Audio Installation channel is sponsored by NVX and Sonic Electronics. Get 10% off all speakers, amplifiers, wiring kits, and more with coupon code PBAI at NVX. Also get 5% off all car audio components at Sonic Electronics with coupon code ProvoBeast. Now, to get the radio out, it's actually not too complicated. You have a knee buster up underneath here, the steering wheel. This has to pop down just enough where we can pop this finish up and around the HVAC controls. Once that's out, we actually have the space. Now we can pop the vents out, and then this up here at the top also has to come out to make way for the radio to come out. So quite a bit. It's actually not too difficult. Now the first thing you need to do is just kind of work your way up and around your steering shifter. So start here. What we're going to do is just kind of give it a little bit of pressure. Start here. Now there's going to be a Phillips screw just right down below as well. If you can't see that very well from the camera here, just know that it's just a Phillips down below. Go ahead and pull that out. And that's just going to give you the space needed. Kind of pull that out of the way. And once you've done that there, you can actually kind of grab on one side here and begin to pull on back. We'll put that down there. Now next thing here, what we're going to need to do is actually pop these vents around. There's two Phillips down below. Go ahead and remove those. Now there's two Phillips up top here as well. Go ahead and disconnect your harnesses here. This is the one here at the top. And each one of these down below, they're all kind of coordinated by color. Alright, so once that's all out, now you're going to notice there's going to be four bolts all the way around. They're generally 8 millimeters. Go ahead and remove those four, and then the radio will come on out. At this point, you can pull the radio. Alright, so we have a radio popped out here. Now, of course, this being replaced, it already has all the aftermarket parts, but generally with an aftermarket radio, you're going to have a camera input. So what on this Pioneer, what we see here is this brown RCA. That's your video camera input for the backup camera. This cable, what we are going to do is run it, which we've done, down up underneath, and we'll show you that here in a minute. Once that's down underneath, we actually run this all the way to the back hatch of the vehicle. This red wire that's off there is your trigger wire. Now usually what we'll want to do, your Pioneer may be hooked up, so we have a purple white wire here. Your Pioneer or any other radio that's backup camera compatible will have a trigger wire of a sort. And essentially what that is, it indicates that the radio should go in reverse when the car is in reverse, displaying what the camera sees. When you're back out of reverse, this trigger wire will no longer be active, and the radio will automatically cycle back over to whatever source it was playing previously. So that's why we have that this little wire here. If you want more explanation on how the backup camera should be wired to your radio, I'll have a link down in the description. It talks about how to wire a backup camera in different scenarios. It'll be super helpful in giving you a little bit more context to this install today. Now, like I said, if you're adding a secondary screen on the dash or a backup camera enabled rear view mirror, this you may not actually have to pull the radio out, just because you'll be installing that elsewhere on the vehicle. Okay, so we've run the wire up underneath. Now what we need to do is go back behind this kick panel here. And we ran a trigger wire, so this trigger wire is just going to connect into the reverse light to trigger the wire into reverse. We're going to run that just in parallel with our video wire. And we went up underneath kind of as we showed before, and what we did is just tucked it back behind this panel. There's enough room just to slip it back behind. Now you can grab these little panels here, just held on with clips. As you can see there, just kind of give it a little tug. Just enough out of the way so we can run our video wire along the factory wiring here up underneath as we work our way to the hatch trunk area. Alright, so we run that wire here as you can see here. And what we're going to do is just replace the panel and do it in the rear seat area as well. Alright, so we tuck the wire. Again, this just pops off too, and just tuck, tuck, tuck. Now back here is a little bit more difficult because you do have the third row. You gotta pop it up so you can get to underneath this panel. So you can tuck the wire so it's clearly underneath the panel. And then this back area does pop out. If you have this cubby, there's just 3 bolts inside the cubby that actually allows the whole thing to come out, and it takes this panel too with it. As you can see, there's all these clips on this panel. Once that's out of the way, that gives you plenty of space to run the wire. Here's our trigger wire and our video wire. So we're at this point. What we're going to do is actually work our way up and over, up underneath this seal here. Because what we have to do is go through this grommet. This is probably the hardest part of this install, because we got to feed this wire through this grommet, which can be difficult, so it's up into the cavity of the car. Okay, so we ran it up underneath the carpet here. We're going to go up underneath this panel. What we did is just pull this back and ran the cable up underneath. We're going to continue up. Now, we pulled the seatbelt bolt out just so we have a little bit more space, and it's a 14 millimeter. Once that's out, there's just 2 clips. This will pull back just enough, and you can pull this down just enough so you can actually get access to pull that wire on through. And I just used a hanger to help fish this wire up through. But since that runs through now, what we're going to do is now fish it up underneath through this hatch. We're going to take these panels off. We'll show you how to do that and run all the wiring to the license plate area. Alright, so at this point what I did is I got a long zip tie and taped it to it. You can get a little soap and water so it's nice and slippery. And basically I'm going to feed that through so I can pull the zip tie out of this side. And then I'm going to pull the whole set of wire through, and then that allows us to go up through this hole to the hatch area. So let's go ahead and get that done. Whew. It's tight. Alright, there we go. Okay, with this whole portion down, what we need to do is pop off this light cover so we can run our wiring back behind that. There's 8mm nuts that hold on that piece, and then there's the 3 of these little clips here. 1, 2, and 3. Just squeeze them together to release it. Once you do that, this becomes really loose, and there's our grommet that we're going to snake our wires through. Okay, so what I did is just pull this out so I can cut a little slit, and then I put the wire inside the grommet, and then put the grommet back in so it does seal still around the wire, and we don't have any pinches here. Now we got our camera mounted on our license plate here, and at this point we have to put just a little teeny notch with a file, enough space for this wire to go through so it doesn't get pinched between this body panel and the actual hatch itself. Okay, so we have located our power for our reverse light. The positive is this blue, and the negative is this black. The black we tied our camera ground into, and then this is our trigger wire. Remember, we ran this all the way up front to trigger the radio. Well, we need that, so we did our positive there, and we'll tape those up. We soldered it on. And then the power for the camera, remember this red wire runs parallel with the video wire inside all the way to the front. We'll hook that into our accessory so we have power all the time to the camera when the car is running. And this will allow us to also select our camera and see what's behind us when we're not in reverse as an option in the settings of the Pioneer. So we got this all set up here. We're gonna go ahead and tape up our connections, get everything zip tied up, and reassemble. All right, so we got our trigger wire and our ground for our camera, and power all hooked up. Our RCA was just a hair short, so I got a coupler and an RCA to just extend it. Plugged in our power and ground, ran it up through, so we are now all good to go. At this point, let's go ahead and put the panel all back on. Be sure to test it before you button everything up just to make sure it works, and we'll do a final test here for you. Okay, look, everything's all back together, just in reverse order. Looks all factory, and that's exactly what we wanted with this install. Alright, so we got the dash all back together, just in exact reverse order. Everything pops back into place, got the radio back in. At this point, we got everything buttoned up in the back, and let's do a final test here. So we're going to go ahead and put it in reverse. Now, before you do so, make sure you go into your settings of the radio, depending on the brand that you have. And within the main system settings, you got to make sure your camera settings here, your backup camera input is set to on. Now, of course, you may have other settings as well, whether it's battery or ground as your polarity. We have it set up to battery, obviously. So at this point, let's go ahead and put it reverse. Automatically goes in reverse, and we're looking at the garage ceiling. Awesome, because the hatch is open. Put it in park or in drive, and it automatically goes back. Now that's the reason it's so important for us to actually hook up that trigger wire correctly to that reverse light. On the Pioneer, it's that purple-white wire, and we ran that blue wire all the way back to the that blue wire on the light itself. That's our trigger wire, and that's what's triggering us to do it automatically. That's about it for this install. If you have any questions about this backup camera hookup, just go ahead and post a comment below. Hopefully this was clear enough. Like I said, check the description. We'll have a helpful video on the concepts of backup cameras in cars that will really help you understand how to get this installed correctly. Thanks again for watching. Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.